Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Joshing Around Milwaukee. As always, I am Josh Albrecht, and with me is...
Hey, it's Josh Albrechts.
That's right, Josh Albrecht and Josh Albrecht. And with us today is Sara Tomilin, the Executive Director of Forest Home Historic Preservation Association of Forest Home Cemetery.
Two Joshes are better than one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Two Joshes having some fun. Cause two Joshes are better than one.
Sara, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was exciting times. Obviously, we're getting ready to record this podcast in the fall. And as we were getting set up earlier, you said people love a cemetery in the fall.
We can't keep them away in the fall.
I gotta let everyone know.
somewhere, right?
Oh.
This is gonna be. I gotta feel
Yeah.
this is gonna be my favorite episode
Yeah.
we've ever done.
I only
Sarah
took-
came to play.
Yep.
Yeah,
I only
Yeah.
took the job.
they're
for the
dying
fun.
to get in.
Really? Drop by anytime.
Yes. So I'm a huge Disney fan, and I'm wearing my Haunted
Oh.
Mansion shirt today.
Oh,
And
excellent.
all of those puns. So like all of those, we're dying to see
Yes.
you.
Of
You
course.
know, there's room for one more. So I'm loving all this. I'm loving all of it. Keep it going.
That's fantastic. But and really, there's just so much with the cemetery and with the association.
Right.
And I think people, as we talk about all the things happening, are going to be pretty surprised to learn how multifaceted really the cemetery is and what it does for the community in a variety of different ways that no one would think about. So let's start a little bit though with rich history
Sure.
of the cemetery. Can you share a little bit what drew you to that history and why you sort of became involved?
It's a beautiful place if you have not been. It is a garden style cemetery. So back in 1850, we had our first burial. The city was 4 years old. The state was 2 years old. And it was located 2 miles outside of downtown. So it was out in the boonies.
Yeah.
And it was designed by Increase Lapham, who is Wisconsin's first naturalist. Lapham Peak's named after him. He's like amazing, super
Wow.
scientist.
Googling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think he wrote like
scientist.
5 books by the time he was 25.
Holy
Like,
cow.
and he designed the cemetery. He was a city
Humble
surveyor.
brag, yeah.
But Byron Kilbourne said, "Hey, will you do this job?" And he's like, "Okay." So he was influenced by Mount Auburn Cemetery, which is the first rural cemetery in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
And that means he kept all of the natural curves of the land. If you go there, you're seeing the land in the most undeveloped part of Milwaukee. So that's the way the land looked.
Wow.
We did not change anything.
That is
Yeah, it's
that's
really
so
amazing.
cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And we have trees that predate the cemetery. Like we have an arboretum that we have an internationally accredited arboretum level 2, which means we're open to the public every day. We have over 100 species and we have trees that are gigantic.
Wow.
What is a level 3?
Well, a level 3 is 500 species. And I don't even know if we would have the climate for that, but maybe climate change will make that happen.
So being a
We'll
level
have palm
2,
Yeah.
trees someday.
being a level 2 is a big deal. Is the takeaway from this?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Wow. Look at that.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
So the sculpture is wonderful because we were talking about the Victorian era when people died a lot and also wanted to celebrate their lives,
Right.
and what they did do. And
Yeah.
it was the Gilded Age and they had a lot of money to spend and they didn't have like sports cars to spend it on. you know?
Sure.
So we have amazing, amazing sculptures. Some of it that came from Germany. So there's a very large
Yeah,
German
brought it over for
population.
sure.
hmm And things that are designed by artists that you would encounter other places. We have a Daniel Chester French sculpture, and that is the same person that did the Lincoln Memorial.
Wow.
So
okay.
we have we're like the first sculpture park.
Yeah.
So cool. That's so
Original trees, original landscape,
Mhm.
first sculpture park.
cool. Original trees. You can see over here, these trees, these are original
I actually
trees.
love that though, when it's
Yeah.
like when it's trees that are, over 100 years
Oh,
old.
yeah.
And like you're like, holy cow, like
Surviving
Yeah.
the test of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah, we're the
remarkable.
OG of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Speaking of the OGs, as morbid as it is, right? A lot of our original settlers and
Yes.
celebrities, if you will, are
Yes.
buried in the cemetery. So I'm sure there's lots of locals and visitors who come
Mhm.
in to sort of pay respects to those who helped build
Absolutely.
the city of Milwaukee and
Mhm.
and therefore the nation.
Yep, we're known for the beer barons.
Yeah.
You know, they made Milwaukee famous.
Mhm.
So we do have Schlitz, Blatz, and Pabst, and they're all located in beer baron corners. So they're sort of facing each other, and they all have amazing sculptures. And the largest mausoleum in the Upper Midwest is the Blatz Mausoleum. But we also have like a really rich Black history. Like
Sure.
it's amazing. We have the first family. When you go to the streets of Old Milwaukee, they have the first family, Sully
Mhm.
and Susanna Watson.
Yeah.
Well, they're buried at Forest Home. They came
Oh,
to Milwaukee in
wow.
1850, and they have a very nice obelisk that's in one of our older sections.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
They got here the same year that the cemetery opened,
Yep.
and they were like, "It's a coincidence. That's
Yeah.
where we're going. That's where we're going next."
Mhm. We might have been one of the only shows in town
Oh,
at
yeah,
that
well,
point.
Yeah. Hearing about this, and again, like, can people still be buried there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're so large.
Can we buy plots?
Yeah.
together?
Well, actually, I have
Josh
to
and
say-
Josh.
Yeah,
have
I mean,
to
as
tell
that
you-
I get older, thinking about plots, that's important.
I have to tell you a secret that I actually Googled our database to see, because we have 118,000 people who are buried at Forest Home. And I thought there's got to be a Josh Albrecht.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
No.
There's about 30 Albrechts, but not a Josh. So,
No Josh.
we need one.
No Joshua.
No Joshua,
Okay.
no
What do you mean?
Josiah.
What do you mean you need one? You don't need one yet.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Give us a few years.
yeah. Gee, yeah, come on. I didn't even
The
know this.
chances are
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's awesome that you looked it up.
Because I just she didn't find anything.
Well, I know, but it probably happens a lot where people are like, I wonder if my relative is buried there,
Yes,
right? You probably
yes.
get calls and people doing research or
mhm.
lineage or
Yep.
family trees.
And we can do it. We can look them up.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you can still get a plot there, and
You still can. So we are almost 200 acres. So we're larger than any city park. And because we're so big, we have like 25% of our space isn't used up yet.
Oh wow,
I mean, we have 100 more years of burial.
holy cow!
Mhm.
And then what?
And then
Then it's level
Well,
3.
so I have to say we are multi-use cemetery. I mean, we are an arboretum. We're also we're the precursor to parks. The park system came about because people were using these garden style cemeteries, and that's when the park system happened. And then they
Very
stopped
interesting.
coming
Yeah.
because the park system existed.
Yeah.
But in that neighborhood, we are giving off more eco benefits from our trees than any place in Milwaukee. DNR did a heat mapping, and we are 4 degrees cooler than any place in Milwaukee on
Wow.
any given day.
That's amazing.
We are
It's very cool.
the coolest place in
The
Milwaukee.
coolest place
Yeah.
in Milwaukee.
Mhm.
Is that you guys have that? You use that? You should
I
make
say it
sure.
all the
Because you
time.
should.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Put,
That's- I
put
love
that
that.
on a t-shirt,
Yeah.
you know?
That's awesome. I mean, I'm thinking about it as a part. I mean, I guess the foresight of those founders to say we need 200 plus acres, right? Like to carve that out and have it preserved for the future, because I guess it would be hard to imagine how much space you would need, but preserving that, and it makes sense that people would use it for a park. Because in the early days,
Yes.
if there's still 25% now, that means there's roughly 50 acres, right? So when it started, there was literally 200 acres of
Yeah, it was
space.
really not very many people at all.
Yeah,
So,
so you-
there would be picnics. And in 1880, it got to the point where they had to ticket people when they came in, not because they were charging them, but because they wanted to see how many people had come through the
Sure,
gate.
yeah.
And they have a record of 8,000 people coming on a single day. It was that popular because there
Wow.
was no landscaped green space.
Right.
You know, it was
Yeah.
very industrial,
Sure.
and that's where they decided to promenade around and have picnics.
Yeah. So besides the beer barons, any other notable
There's so many.
anybody who someone would I mean, obviously
Yeah.
people from Milwaukee would know
Sure.
maybe some of the names, but any
Mhm.
other names that someone maybe who was coming in from Iowa
Well,
might recognize?
I mean, Billy Mitchell.
Yeah.
General Billy Mitchell is buried there with his father, Alexander Mitchell, who at the time was the wealthiest man in the state. And Brooks Stevens, the industrial designer, the Wienermobile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he also did the Miller logo. He also
Very cool.
Best
Yep,
logos.
yep.
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's There's some amazing people that
Yeah.
are buried there.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we talked a little about the history, it being a park-like setting, and things like that. So how is the cemetery in use today then? So you've had to sort of adapt from the original of being a park to then changing over time to full-on cemetery, but we've got the arboretum, we've got other
Yes.
elements. What are some of
Yes.
the modern things that maybe people would not expect at all happening at the
I wouldn't
cemetery?
exactly call it modern, except for the fact that we are making it more multi-use.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do have tours on almost every given weekend when the weather's good. We have history tours that you can take. We have 17 docents, and we pretty much let them do a tour that they'd want to do. So we have one that was a band teacher, and she has a tour called Dead Beats, and it's all the people who are composers and musicians.
Nice.
Very cool.
I mean, we find that that's where you get the best tours if you have someone who's really passionate. We have a docent who does lunch tours where you bring your own lunch, and it's called Death and a Sandwich. And you sit in one place, and then you get to hear a story. And she won't even tell me what she's going to go take people out to hear. It's different every time. And those are just the tours, right?
Yeah.
So then we have events. We have Doors Open is coming up on the 28th, and we have a chapel that was built by the architects Figuring Kloss, who did the Pabst Mansion and also the Central Library. It was their first collaboration. It was built in 1892. And then in 1896, they built the Midwest's first crematory in the basement. So we have that open for Doors Open. It's done in Carrara marble. They spared no expense. They were really into cremation. and it served as a crematory until 2000. I mean, it served for a very long
not
time.
that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago. So you can come and take a tour of that and the chapel during Doors Open, and also do a bike tour. There's a bike tour people can sign up for because we have 8 miles of road, and sometimes you can't walk.
Are there bikes available nearby?
There aren't.
use
BYOB,
It's kind
bring
of-
your own
it
What
bike.
if there's a
is.
bubbler
It
stand
is.
there?
I don't know where the closest bubbler stand is,
Yeah.
but maybe they should put one.
Yeah, that could be a good
Right there.
little- yeah, it could be a good partnership. They have
Yeah.
bubbler bikes there,
Yeah.
fixed tours.
Exactly.
And then, obviously, those listening who might not be familiar with Doors Open, that happens once a year, and it's a great way to get to experience different venues and sort of see where you can't normally go. So,
That's right.
on a normal day, can you take tours of those buildings?
No.
Okay,
So this is something
that is a
that's
special once a year
right?
thing. Yeah,
And then we wanted to be able to tell the stories of our residents, the really interesting ones, in a way that was really well done. And also
are you thinking about
really
you in the future?
professional. I mean, it could be. Hey, I always
Residents.
suggest, if you feel like you've done it a lot in your life, then
Yeah.
maybe you want to consider Forest Home. But we have the Spirits of the Silent City. That's 2 weekends in October, and we partner with Caper Company. It's a theater company that also does Shakespeare in the Park.
Oh, nice.
And these are actors that you would see at the Rep. They are professional actors, and we cast about 20 spirits. And then you go off on a tour of 24 people, and you have a spirit guide that introduces you to the other spirits.
That's fun.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And it's very
Is that ticketed? Do you have to get advance
it's
tickets?
ticketed.
Yeah.
It's on our website, also on
Right.
Eventbrite.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is it usually sell out? Is that some people
It's
need to
sold,
jump
it
to?
has had nights that have sold out,
Okay.
and we're doing the Summerfest model where it's 2 weekends instead of one
Nice.
weekend. So we're hoping that that'll help a lot.
Yeah, stretch it out a little
Yeah,
bit.
stretch
Sure.
it out a lot. We don't have much of a budget. It's pretty much a word of mouth thing, but
Yeah.
we've been pretty good with. We have about 300 tickets sold so far,
Wow. Yeah.
and the weather's been, kind of lose your head good.
Yeah.
no
Lose your
one's
head good. See,
spoken
another one.
thing.
Lose your head good.
Yeah,
You are perfect for this job.
You guys are buried in events over there at the
That's right.
stadium. Oh, you're doing these the rest of the night.
Oh, I know.
My family's gonna be like,
Oh.
just enough.
How
please."
was work today?
Yeah. Let me
Yeah.
tell you,
There you go. Mhm.
it killed.
Yes.
So we talked about the arboretum,
Mhm.
but besides trees, there's something that rhymes with trees. That's bees.
Yes.
And
yes.
bees are prevalent
Mhm.
in the cemetery too.
So I brought you guys honey. It is
Love
Silent
it.
City
Check
honey.
it out.
You can purchase it at the
Right here.
cemetery.
This is cemetery honey.
Cemetery
cemetery
honey.
honey.
It's got a special ingredient. I won't tell
To
you
die
what.
for. I had upside down. To die for.
Oh my gosh.
And our
Thank you.
honey at the Wisconsin Honey Producers Annual Meeting won best tasting honey in Wisconsin in a blind taste test
Oh.
among people with, a honey
know how
palate,
honey should
right?
taste.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And you know what
Of
makes
the
it
living.
amazing?
Not
Yes.
you, is
Yes.
what she's saying.
Yeah.
You weren't judging them.
Yes. Yes. Some people that can tell the difference. Yes.
What makes it amazing is it is tree pollen. So, you're normally used to a honey that's got a real floral taste to it. This is
Yeah.
a nutty flavor. And
Interesting.
it's really good.
Wow. Okay.
So enjoy it.
I don't think I ever would have expected to.
There's so many
tree
different
pollen
kinds of
honey.
flavors, and it depends on the period. It gets darker, like, what's blooming. So this is some of our lighters.
So obviously the beehives are all the.
I was
the
going to say,
boxes,
can we
they're all
take a
taken
step
care
back
of?
and talk
Yeah.
about this?
Mhm.
So what the honey's made there, like if I'm on a tour or if I'm just in there, am I also seeing?
No,
like-
so we do have it on a second floor of a building.
Okay.
It's right
Nice.
outside on a
Yep.
porch.
Okay.
But just so things don't get disturbed.
Yeah. Okay.
But we do
That's
take
just like-
people up, and they're, I've gotten in the bee suit before, though I'm not the
Love it.
beekeeper.
Yeah.
So
Got it, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This is awesome.
sure.
Yeah.
This is awesome. The best honey.
Mhm.
The best. Where can people get the honey?
At the cemetery.
At the cemetery.
At the cemetery.
Great.
Our office is open mostly Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
So they can
You
come
get
and
honey.
get
You
it.
can get
And
a
also at
t-shirt
events,
coming soon.
our events.
Yeah.
So our big event, our neighborhood is like 90% Latino.
Okay.
And we work with a Latino event committee, and we put together a Dia de los Muertos event.
Oh, I bet that's
We
amazing.
start with a run
Can't imagine.
on the 26th of October is when it's going to happen this year. We have like close to 700 people doing the run now, and it's like just the most beautiful place to go for a run.
Yeah.
And then after the run, we have 40 vendors. We have mariachis when you cross the finish line.
Love it.
And we
I'm not a runner. Can you
Yeah.
also? It is a
it's
walk.
a walk. Run,
Okay.
walk.
Thank
and,
God.
and
Yeah.
also we allow dogs.
Yeah.
Not everyone does, but we allow
Yeah.
dogs, and people dress up their dogs, and they dress up themselves
it.
for the event.
Yeah. Do most of the people participating come in costume?
Mhm. A lot of them do.
Nice.
Mhm. Yeah. One of my favorite one was Mr. Death. What do you call that?
Grim
The
Reaper.
The Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
The Grim Reaper was the best. He even
Yeah.
had his little spear he's running.
That's awesome.
And when is this event?
This is the 26th of October.
Okay.
Every year.
It's
Most years?
usually the last Saturday of every
Great.
Yeah. October, and we also partner with families who have who are Latino and are in our Lady of Guadalupe area,
Mhm.
and they make giant ofrendas or altars to the dead,
Mhm.
and they spend the whole day there talking to their relatives, sharing their food, remembering them.
Yeah. Very
That's so cool, man. There's just so many different. This is nuts. Like just so many different things in a cemetery that make it like a top tourist attraction.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, which is, I mean, I think it's like delightful, because I think most people, are rightfully hesitant to maybe, I guess I would use the word celebrate at a cemetery, right?
Mhm.
It's always seems like a place, because so many of us have had to go there for reasons we didn't
Yes.
want to.
Mhm.
Yes.
That you think of it as just somber and sad, but to celebrate at the cemetery as a place that's a community gathering that really celebrates the history, that celebrates the people who are there now. I think it's really beautiful. It's a
I
great
agree.
way to make it still a part
It
of
can
the city.
still be a place for somber
Yeah.
reflection too. There's 200 acres. You can
Yeah, you can
Right,
write
there's
it down.
plenty of room.
really find your
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, certainly I'm not saying that you
Yeah.
mariachi bands all year
Yeah.
long, but
Right.
Yeah.
but it'd be kind of cool if there was.
Mhm.
But
I'm just trying to pay my respects. You guys mind?
yeah, come on.
Yeah, come on.
But I think it's great that it's
Yeah.
celebrated as a
Well, it's
community
really going
gathering
back to our roots. I mean, we were
Yeah.
designed to be a cemetery for people to enjoy that are alive.
space. Yeah, that's
You know.
wonderful. Any other events coming up later this year that would be unique that people should plan for, or just anything in the future?
Well, all of those, because fall is huge.
Yeah.
We do kind of go dormant when the weather is not so good. But
Sure.
we've
Yeah.
done Valentine's Day tours till death do us part.
Sure. Yeah.
Tour
Just
for
all day.
Valentine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, right? Like
It's
you
just
just can
an
keep
endless
on
list.
going. We do
Yeah.
a 414 tour in April.
Oh, sure.
for,
It's gotta celebrate the beer baron,
Yeah.
the original
well,
family.
It's the
and-
first, all the first, whatever you fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Is there ever been an idea of an event that you're like, oh man, someday we'll show Hocus
Oh,
Pocus on a
boy.
big screen or something?
I mean, yes, I would like to do. Cinema at
Yeah.
some point. I think that would be wonderful, and I have a great place for it too. It's just that we are literally have no lights, so it's
Right.
dark in there.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, how do people get out? How do they get in? And so it'll
That
happen.
stuff you can't
It'll
get out.
happen.
Yeah.
Well, you can't get out.
Man, that's fantastic. So one thing I do want to ask you though, pivot a little bit from the cemetery. We always love to ask people about the community itself as
Sure.
well. So Milwaukee as a whole, and we like to say Milwaukee has some great fresh city vibes right now. There's a lot of new things, a lot of stuff happening, good vibes across the city. What's giving you fresh city vibes? What are you gravitating towards?
Yeah.
What are you dying to do
Trying to do.
throughout the city?
Well, I do love to spend my time outside as much as possible. And a couple times this year, my husband and I kayaked on the river, or we found a friend with a boat.
That's always important.
I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
it's a
Friends
beautiful,
with
it's
boats.
a beautiful city, and
It
you
is.
really realize that when you're on the water.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we've got a little time left. I want to ask a couple more quick questions. So we talked. There's the cemetery and the Preservation Association.
Yes.
So Preservation Association's looking to raise funds to help offset costs of maintaining the cemetery. Are there
Yes.
some long-term projects that really you're trying to raise funds for right now that people could help with or get involved with?
They could. So we have a huge fountain that is the oldest fountain in Milwaukee. I call it the grotto fountain because it's actually made out of a bunch of stonework, and there's a bunch of moss on it. And there are postcards from the turn of the century, 1900s, of water squirting out of each one of the pieces of stone, and now it kind of dribbles.
Yeah.
And so it
Needs a little refurbishment, yeah.
It's gonna need preservation, and preservation means more zeros.
Oh, yeah.
So to do it right, that's definitely something that we want to take care of and save it, because it's part of our history.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, well, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it's like you said, when a lot of these elements were built, people were putting a lot of money and resources
Yes.
behind them. So
Yes.
to keep them up to date probably costs a lot of money to make sure
it
they
does.
keep that same level of historical integrity.
And we have a lot of challenges. We have more buildings than any cemetery. We're larger than any cemetery. We are a nonprofit. Most cemeteries are corporately owned, or they're municipally run.
Yep.
Or they are nonprofits, but they're tied to a church. And we are actually independent
Oh, wow.
nonprofit.
Has it always been that way? Was it built?
We used to be part of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, but a
Okay.
decade ago we did split off from them and became independent. So we're a unicorn
Sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If people want to volunteer, get involved, maybe become a docent and
Yes.
tour guide, how do they do
Yes.
that?
Go to our website. We have a whole volunteer section, and we have about 500 volunteers that help us with events every year,
Wow.
because it's just me and a part-time person.
Yeah. That's
And,
you
and,
need a lot
and
of
we,
help.
and we
Yeah.
have excellent volunteers.
Yeah. Yeah. That's outstanding.
And it's
Um,
foresthomecemetery.com,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That's the
And
website.
cemetery is spelled with all E's. Everyone says, "Oh, what's the most interesting thing that you learned about being in a
Love
cemetery?"
it.
Like, people can't spell it.
Yeah. And in our notes here, you were an English major or
Yes.
English literature major, so you
That's
you
right.
probably paid very close attention to the spellings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and also it won't get you anywhere on the website if you don't
Yeah.
type it in.
That's right.
That's fair. That's fair. Spelling is
Cemetery,
important.
That's right.
cemetery.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I did mention to Josh before we began with you, like, I mean, I also was an English major, so I can see where you're sort of falling in love with the stories of the people and the cemetery and what it means and represents. I'm so sure you've seen some or heard some really amazing stories over the years of the
Yes.
people who are buried there, the families who come to pay
Mhm.
respects.
Mhm.
Any one stand out to you the most? Is it the beer barons? Is it somebody else?
There is one that I thought was interesting, and you can actually Google him. He's called The Man They Could Not Hang.
Ooh.
This is a good one for Halloween.
Yeah.
So his name was John Babacom Lee. He was in Babacom, England, and he killed his employer, and he was set to be hung. And they pulled the whatever,
Yeah. On the ground.
the
Yeah.
ground, and it wouldn't go. And it wouldn't go again. It wouldn't go again. And finally, the executioner was like, this is bad luck. I'm not going to do this. And so he went back to jail and somehow got out of jail and then moved to Milwaukee.
Interesting.
What?
And if you go visit his grave, which is just a flesh marker in section 51, I think it's in this guide. It doesn't have his death date on it.
Oh,
He's there. I've seen documents,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It makes really
Just
never could
because he could
die.
just.
Was that his
Yeah.
wish?
Oh
you
my
think?
gosh.
Who knows?
Like,
Who
why would they
knows?
not put
Who
the?
knows? Who knows?
That's really interesting.
Whoa,
Yeah, that's fun.
man.
That is a good
Mhm.
story. You could almost. I'm sure. I mean, literally tens of thousands of
I
stories.
could go on again. And
I mean, everybody's got a story,
Yeah.
so that's what's really
Another
amazing.
interesting one is
Oh,
Miriam Knoll Wright. So Frank Lloyd Wright's second wife. They had a very tumultuous relationship. When he left her for Ogilvana, his third wife. She would come and trash his houses and things like that. And she's buried all by herself at Forest Home. She died in Shorewood.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Wow.
man.
So many stories to learn about, so much honey to eat,
Yes.
Right.
so many events to partake in, and of course, 200 acres just to explore.
It's open every day.
Yeah.
So
Drop
cool.
by
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah.
So if
thank
people
you.
are looking, obviously the website,
Mhm.
anything else people should know, places, different
Yeah.
social media, anything else that people should know about?
Oh yeah. So we're on Facebook and Instagram also and LinkedIn.
Great.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yep.
Looking for updates on those events.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today on Joshing Around Milwaukee. Can't wait to get out there and explore the cemetery and see all the nooks and crannies. And
Yeah, definitely
We
check it
need
out.
a
I might-
Josh Albrecht.
yeah,
Yeah.
buy my plot.
Yeah. Yeah. We should, when we're here,
I mean,
that
why not?
spot looks good over there. Let's see about that spot.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Sarah. We
you.
really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks.